There's
Lord,
nothing.
Bob, I think you just fouled.
I did.
Doocy. Okay, welcome everybody. We have Bob Fasella teaching us find and show homes. He has his own set of tips and tricks.
Yes.
I hear from past classes and field trip in a couple of hours.
Field trip.
Field trip.
Woo!
We'll leave here.
Who's got the cooler? No,
We'll leave
No,
here
that would be a
before
road
1
trip.
o'clock, and we're gonna take a look at the house.
be a road trip.
Okay.
Take it away, Bob.
Here,
Thank
can I
you.
give this to you, Stacy?
What? Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, those who didn't give me your big Ys and number of transactions, I'm still collecting.
Oh, here's my number of transactions.
Okay, Bob's turn.
Man, we got a big class here now. Thanks, Stacy.
Are we gonna leave towards the end of the class so we can, because I got a lot of stuff to carry.
We're gonna go check a property out in right here in Dunwoody, about 1.5 miles away, for the last hour of the class. But we'll try to leave here like at 12:45, so it gives us about an hour in the class. I mean,
Okay.
in the house. Hey, if everyone wouldn't mind, just make sure you got your name tags out, so I know who you are. Appreciate it. My name is Bob Fasella. I've been in real estate for about this is my 13th year. All of them here at Keller Williams.
Sorry about that.
That reminds me of that side of it too.
Well, mine was an alarm.
I got into this business in 2007, right at the absolute worst time, because the market just went completely south. But that's good, because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I've seen both markets, and we're still in a pretty good market right now, and there's no signs that it's going anywhere else. How many people in this class have done a train? Everyone has a license, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes. Has anyone done a transaction? So about half? Okay. Has everyone have a super key so they can get into properties?
No, I need to get one.
Yes, you will need to get one. And it's just, you've got a smartphone, right? Just an app on the phone.
Okay.
Up until about 2 or 3 years ago, we actually had a separate key, which was a complete pain in the butt. Because those things, you had to charge them every night, and if you didn't, it wouldn't get updated, and you try the next day to get into the property, and you couldn't. So it's great having it on the phone. Has everyone previewed, well, except for Rochelle, who doesn't have a super key yet, have you previewed properties? Have you opened a door with your super key, looked in, taken a peek at some properties? Okay. Well, so the class today is find and show homes. And I will tell you that the most important thing you'll ever do when you have a buyer is do a good buyer consultation, because it will just save you hours and hours on the back end. You will not look at properties that they're never going to buy, and it will just save you even a 2-hour consult. Just get your ducks in a row, ask the right questions, and it'll save you tons of time. And you did a buyer consultation class already? Did you guys do that, something like that?
I have not.
Okay. Well, in your buyer consult, and basically it should be you just listening to your buyers. It's kind of hard to tell people, and it's kind of a pain to get to this office sometimes.
Telling me.
Colette, if you can't get to the office, then your clients certainly can't. But I like to meet people. I usually meet them Starbucks or a coffee shop is the best place, and you can always find a table in the corner. Just make sure that you have internet access. I bring my laptop. If you get a laptop, iPad, whatever, it just usually works better than a phone. This way you can kind of show them properties and get an idea for what they like or what they don't like. There's an old term in real estate, buyers are liars. And it's true, but it's not intentional. People tell you something, but it might not, they think what they're telling you is right, and it might not be. Oh yeah, we want this, this, and this, and then you get out to the properties, and all of a sudden, we don't really want that. So, I mean, it's not intentional like they're lying to you, but buyer's console, basically, I mean, I do a buyer's console, I got a pad with me, and, you know, I used to write down questions, but I kind of know them now. But want to know everything about them. But okay, you want to buy a new house. Where are you living now? What's your current situation? How soon do you need to move into the new place? It just gives, because some people they'll get together with you and they're not really ready to buy something for 6 months. So you don't want to be spending tons and tons of time looking for properties now because they're not going to be available in 6 months. I always tell people, all right, the first thing you need to do if you're going to buy a house is get pre-qualified. Because sometimes a lot of people think they qualify for a lot more, or they think that they're going to be easily pre-qualified, and then they find out they have an issue, they have a credit issue, they got something in their history that it's just not going to work out. And, I did that once. I took out a buyer early in my career. We went out a couple of times and then found something they liked and could not get pre-qualified. So it was a waste of a few days. So, I mean, and I always tell people, look, I want to make sure that I respect your time as well as my own. So that's why we do this, because we're trying to save you as much time as possible, as well as my own time. But yeah, in that in that buyer consultation, and talk to Stacy about that. There's a lot of them online that have all the questions that you want to ask. It's all within the Keller Williams website, and it just will help you narrow things down and stay focused on what they're really trying to buy. One of the things I would do to them is usually I'll just draw a circle on my pad. Okay, where do your friends live? Where do you work? Where's your church? If you're a golfer, where do you play? Whatever, and just make sure that those dots will all be here in this one corner of the circle, and they want to live down here, and it's like, why? Oh, well, my parents live down here. Do you ever visit your parents? No. Then maybe that's not. Maybe you should concentrate up here. When we, what I always ask them, when you're looking for a property, what are your must-haves? Buyers with younger children, their must-haves might start with schools. We got to be in a good school district. And one thing I will tell you, if you haven't heard it already, we are realtors and we try to stay away from steering people to certain schools. I send them to two particular websites, one of them being greatschools.org, the other one is schooldigger.com. And I tell them, go to the school site, go to these websites, read all the comments, see the ratings, and if you're really that concerned with schools, set up a meeting with the school, because every school will take you on a tour. You'll get to meet some of the administrators, and they'll take you on a tour, meet some of the teachers. I mean, if you really want to know about the schools, that's the best way to do it. See what the makeup of the classes are. It'll give you a great idea. But I asked them
Can you say the second one again? Because I'm familiar with grade schools, but not.
Schooldigger.com. And the reason I like Great School, Great Schools to me is the number one site. School Digger is nice because it gets into, you can read all the statistics that we as realtors are not going to talk about, like ethnic makeups of schools and things like that. Because we're equal housing opportunity employers. We don't.
I think Great Schools has it in there as well.
They might.
I'm pretty sure they do. But it's always good to check another.
Well, the two of them, they do have some different categories, and that's why I send them both. And I also tell people, make sure when you go to these websites, don't just, Austin Elementary over here in Dunwoody scores a 10 out of 10. And their ratings are based solely on test scores. Those numbers, 10 out of 10. But that doesn't mean that the school's going to be right for your children. Maybe you don't like the racial makeup. Maybe the school's 50 years old and you don't want your kids in an older building. There's a lot of reasons. Maybe it's just at the end of the day, it's just not where I want to be. So I always tell them to read the comments as well, because parents post comments on those things and it gives you a little bit more insight. But I always make sure you find out what their must-haves are. We've got to have 4 bedrooms. We've got 3 kids, and we've got to have 4 bedrooms. All right, because we know we can eliminate anything with 3 bedrooms or less right away. Make sure you know what they absolutely don't want. You know what? We just don't want a split level. And usually when people tell me that, I say why? And they'll say, we just don't like the way they look. And I'll say, well, have you been in a split level? Because I will tell. Do you want an open floor plan? Yes. Well, if you want to stay in Dunwoody and live in a 1970s or 80s house, which Dunwoody is, chances are that split level has a more open floor plan than the regular traditional house. It's because the kitchen connects to the living area, and it just opens up nicer. So I would always say, even though they've said we absolutely don't want that. Let's just take a look, because if they haven't been in one, it might change their mind.
But split levels don't appreciate the way a 2-story,
Who says?
Jessica Schulte.
Well, I will tell you that's not necessarily true.
Is that right?
I will tell you that. I will tell you that I have clients when I first got in the business that bought their house for $160,000 and just recently sold it for $500,000, and they'll tell you that their house appreciated just fine. If you buy it at the right point, you're going to be fine. If you buy it at the right
Well, that's when you
price.
make your money in real estate, is when you buy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I would, they'll say it doesn't appreciate. I'll say, well, a house appreciates when people do updates too. If this guy bought a traditional house and really hasn't done much, and that guy bought a split level and spent $80,000 on a new kitchen, his house is going to appreciate a lot quicker, and he's going to, when it comes time to sell, having that brand new kitchen with all the modern appliances, granite, quartz, etc., he's going to have an easier time selling that property. He just is.
I think too, because trends have changed so much. Like we didn't really want mid-century modern, 10 years ago, but people are, I know from my experience in Charlotte that there was a whole neighborhood that was all mid-century modern, and everyone was like, we don't ever want to buy that because it's the worst investment, and now it's skyrocketing.
Now, were you an agent in Charlotte?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've kind of been there, done that. Well, yeah, and contemporary houses might be a little bit different. Where you go out to the neighborhood and the wood is angled all that way. Some people just don't like the contemporary, although I will tell you walk inside a contemporary and it's got a modern feel to it. A lot of them do, and the fact that they got an open floor plan, they got raised ceilings. The house we're going to see today, and most any house built before mid-1980s is going to have 8-foot ceilings. Houses built after that, there's a good chance they're going to have 9 or 10-foot ceilings. And to some people, especially if you live in a house, apartment, whatever, that where you've got higher ceilings, going into an 8-foot ceiling might not be something that you want. So newer properties tend to have more open floor plans. They definitely will have higher ceilings. Because, condos, townhomes, single-family homes. One of the things we'll do, does everyone have themselves set up on their own FMLS search? You know how to do searches? Okay.
Yes.
I would set yourself up on an automated search, whether it be the area that you really want to be the expert in. Make sure that you have yourself set up on a search, so when a property just gets listed or goes under contract or just closes, you will know right away. My area that I work is predominantly Dunwoody. I'll work anywhere. But anytime a property gets listed in Dunwoody or it goes under contract or it's closed, boom, I get an immediate email, and there it is, and I know about it. And so if there's an area that you want to specialize in, make sure that you have yourself set up on a search so you know immediately, because especially if you have a buyer or seller in that area, they're going to know. So you want to make sure you know before they know, or at least at the same time. So set yourself up on an FMLS search.
How do you do that?
I'll show you.
Okay.
Pretty easy. Okay. So we're going to find and show homes. We're going to go out to a property. We're going to do a mock path of homes we're going to show. But I would say one thing: if you're showing a property, especially in an area you're not familiar with, do a dry run the day before and actually set it up so where you can preview these properties too. I mean, I still do this. I sold a property in the Toco Hills area, which is kind of north of Decatur. And I don't spend a whole lot of time over there, but recently actually I had representing buyers. And so I previewed every property we were going to see a couple of days from now. And I got in all the properties, knew all the properties, knew all the the nuances of the neighborhoods. And so when I had these folks who were coming in from out of town, I put them in my car and we drove to these properties. They were pretty impressed that I knew everything about the properties. Like, hey, you guys need to, we need a restroom break. There's QT right around the corner. I knew everything about it. And it just establishes your credibility as the expert, especially when you can get there before the property. Hey, this one's on the list. I wanted to make sure we see it, but here's what you might not like about it. Or here's what I didn't like about it. You might feel the same way.
Hey,
And I go,
Bob,
oh, man.
that noise is grating on my nerves, so I may just scream out loud here in a brief few minutes, okay? Just wanted to let you know.
It's good to know.
Good.
You might want to open the door and just scream into the hallway and come back in.
Okay.
There are a lot of things, Rochelle, that annoy you.
No, this is priority one. This noise and smacking, but
So what are you going to do when you have these clients in your car and they got a kid screaming? Yeah, I will tell you that one of the something you will learn in this business is patience.
okay.
You got to be very patient with people.
Or if they're in your car fighting with each other.
I haven't really had that one.
Have you had that?
Yep,
That's awesome.
yep. I told them to get out.
I love that.
In the middle of the intersection, I'm like, just get out of my car. You guys are going to continue to act like that. And they were like, oh, okay, well, calm down.
Hey, folks, maybe we need to pull over and let you guys have a little moment here, okay? Haven't had that one. Hopefully, 13 years I haven't had that one, so hopefully you won't. One of the things I always tell my buyers at a buyer consult is I will help you with any property. It doesn't matter if it's listed for sale by owner, what have you. I am available to help you, and I always need to be the point of contact, the first point of contact, because if you start talking to, whether it be new construction or whether you're for sale by owner, there's the chance that you'll compromise my ability to negotiate for you. That's the way I always say it. You'll compromise the ability to negotiate for you and get you the best price. And you really don't want your buyers contacting for sale by owners, because they might say the wrong things, or they might even cut you out of the transaction. So make sure that you have told them that with new constructions as well. If they go in and look at new constructions and the agent on site says, oh, you're represented by, do you have an agent that's representing you? No, we don't. Okay, we'll sign here. And now all of a sudden, when you go to show them the property, they might say to you, oh, sorry, we have already been in touch with them, so you don't have a commission protected.
Do you normally have your client sign a buyer broker's agreement?
No. Everyone will tell you, yes, do that immediately. That's fantastic. I will tell you that I bring that to the consult. I'll say this is our buyer brokerage agreement. It's a 6-page document. The new one might even be 7. And before we ever put our name on a dotted line, making an offer to anyone, by law, I am obligated to have you sign this. I cannot represent you until you sign this. I will say some agents will get you to sign this right away. I know when I was looking for a house before I was an agent, I'm hesitant to sign anything right away. But read through this and know that before we sign anything, I've got to represent you. I have to have this signed. And, so all of a sudden, maybe you're meeting someone for the first time. Here, sign this. It's kind of like, really? Nah, read through it or what have you. I have not lost a client because I have not got that signed right away. Maybe you feel more comfortable getting that signed. Hey, just so you know, we've got to get this signed by law in order for me to represent you. We've got to get this signed. Maybe you feel more comfortable doing that. That hasn't been my style, and I just tell them that we have to get that signed. It's going to have to be done. I remember our old managing partner Sean Rawls used to say that, you know, this is kind of like a marriage certificate. Once we sign this, we're joined at the hip. Well, maybe the minute you first meet me, you don't want to be joined at the hip. We're on a first date, man. I don't need that sign. You had a question?
Yeah, so I have a cousin that I'm working with, and I was told to give her the buyer's agreement or the brokerage agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it the standard way, 3% on the A side,
She's a buyer?
Yeah, on
Okay.
the B side. And then she balked at that, she'll pay me if the seller doesn't pay part.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of stuck there. And I don't know whether to move it, how to move it forward. I heard the first one who speaks loses. So I'm kind of trying to wait for her to reach out, but you can't do that indefinitely.
Well, it does say there, and I'm not crazy about the way that's worded. It does say that, if the seller refuses to pay my 3% commission, that you will pay my 3% commission. And then it has two boxes there, yes or no. You can check either one. And I will tell you that I check no. You're not going to pay me. You're never going to have to pay me because we are always going to get the seller to pay, even if it's a FSBO type situation. And if the FSBO refuses to pay, I haven't had that happen. Usually they're pretty savvy. If they're putting their house up on the market for sale by owner, they pretty much know that they're going to have to pay your buyer's agent. I just haven't had that situation occur. I would tell your cousin that the chances of you ever having to pay my commission are slim and
I
none.
explained that to her, and I also explained in the worst case scenario that would go into the loan. It's not like you got to come out of your
We'll
pocket
put that into the price of the
with
property.
that money. I'll help
Yeah.
you get down payment assistance. I don't know. I feel like
Sounds
I
like you and
wanna
your cousin
her
have a trust
sign it
issue.
because I feel like if you're acting fickle already,
Yeah.
she's just kind of bipolar, which is why I kind of backed off from doing family stuff. But at the same time, I wanted somebody like for
Well,
my
just
first
with her, just
transaction
check the no box
that I
and say
had a little
you'll
bit of-
check the no box and say you'll never have to pay me. We will work it out. You are not going to have to pay me. Do not worry about that. I mean, 99.9% of the time, that's never going to come up. I have never had a for sale by owner refuse to pay me. I've never had a situation where I did not get my commission and it wasn't protected.
So how did you know? I'm sorry.
You have.
I've had all the crazy stories. I had a guy that in Charlotte, I may have said this before, but he contacted me, I think it was through like Zillow, and he wanted to spend $1 million, and he wanted to buy a house on one of the lakes there. There's three, Lake Wiley, Mountain Island Lake, and Lake Norman. And I literally drove him for days, like 8 hours a day. And I showed him every house on every lake that was in his price range. And on Saturday, I had shown him, I'd actually run a half marathon that morning and then got in my car and showed property. I was so exhausted. So Saturday night, we left, and he's like, great, I'm going to think about all this, and I'll get back to you in the morning. And he called me Sunday morning and said, I found a for sale by owner when we were out looking at property. I noticed it, and I wrote that number down, and I called them, and I'm buying that house, and there wasn't any room in there for commission for you. And that hurts so bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It hurts so bad because he was he went to the Naval Academy. So did my dad. I couldn't believe, and it really just taught me, to have that conversation. I don't get them to sign buyer agency either right away because I feel like it's sort of.
Now let me ask you this: did you, in the buyer console, say I always need to be the first point of contact?
I like that.
No,
See,
I
this-
did not.
If you do, maybe it would have prevented that from happening.
Could have.
I like
But I mean, I haven't. Usually, I have a 2-hour or an hour and a half consult with people, and I'm sending them properties, and I'm following up before I've called them on the phone, and I've followed up before we've even seen properties, and I have a pretty good feel for them. Now, it sounds like you probably did this guy's going to be stand up, but if you have a little squirrely feeling about some folks, maybe I would make the exception and say, well, you know what, let's just go ahead and sign this brokerage agreement. Now, they can cancel that at any time. Understand that's a service contract. they can just give you written notification and cancel it, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's their right. But yeah, that's completely sucks.
So when you said you've never had a for sale by owner and not pay you your commission, is that because of the price you negotiated, or you were?
No, it's because I called them up first. I'm like, okay. And then one of the first questions I asked them, okay, you're protecting my 3% commission. And you almost always say yes. If they say no, I'll say, well, I will have to add that into the price of the house. So just FYI, all of these other houses that you see for sale that you are basing your sales price on, understand that they have paid likely paid 3% to a buyer's broker. Now all of a sudden you are raising the price of your house by 3%. It's probably not going to get sold. It might be overpriced now. Probably overpriced to start with. That's why 90% of for sale by owners don't sell. They're overpriced.
Usually for sale by owners don't want to pay the commission, and they don't want to pay the full commission. So they're happy to pay somebody who brings them a buyer.
They're trying to save the listing commission.
Yep.
What they're trying to say. And I've gotten a few for sale by owners ended up listing their properties, and I'm just like, statistics say there's a 90% chance you're not going to sell this property, and because you're overpriced, and you really need a professional to help you sell it. And at the end of the day, I would think you're more concerned with your bottom line as opposed to paying 3% that's up for someone that's going to protect your better interest. But that's another class. But anyway, so that's my thoughts on, they will tell you, get the buyer's brokerage agreement signed up front. You certainly can't go wrong doing that. That's just not, I hopefully have established a trust with my buyers, and they're not going to go behind my back. I'm sorry that happened. That's just...
Yeah, I learned a very important lesson this weekend, dealing with friends and being a real estate professional.
In there.
So it was for sale by owner day 1. Day 2, it was listed with an agent that hadn't listed on FMLS. My friend went over to the house and said, I want XYZ 7090, and then called me and said, find out who the owner is. So due diligent Rochelle, I'm on the tax records, I'm all in the website, I'm doing the most, right? I printed out 700 pieces of paper, only for her to call me and say, I met the agent, I don't want to deal with the agent, I'm going to deal directly with the owner. This is before I had even mentioned the word agreement between she and I. And it hurt my feelings, but it taught me a lesson right off the bat. Have a face-to-face conversation, exactly as you said. And I went to her and I said, I don't think I have what you're looking for. You have all the answers. You don't have any questions. You're making statements. I would rather save our personal friendship than have a real estate relationship with you. And it felt so good to speak my truth in that instance, because I felt chaos coming right off the bat.
Well, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you got to be always treat your friends and family like clients. Don't eliminate steps in the process. Oh, they're friends, they're family, I can eliminate that. Don't do it. You're just going to get yourself in trouble.
Well, that's where I'm at, and I guess my question is, if I don't get that agreement signed, she can go to anybody or do it.
Is that what she's going to do?
I have no idea.
Maybe you don't want to work with her then. Maybe she's going to be more trouble than it's worth.
I was thinking that as well, but I still need practice,
Well,
so I'm trying to work with her. If nothing else, I
can say this. So my very first client, before I even had my license, was supposed to be my aunt. And this is my mother's sister. Very, very close family. Until it was time to actually sell her house. Then it became, oh, well, you're new. And my husband thinks we should get somebody who's been doing this for a really long time. And our best friends have used this other agent who's been da-da-da-da, and they got this much money back from the house, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden, I was null and void. So I think with family, yeah, until you actually have been doing it for a minute and they see that you've been doing, yeah, they don't really trust you as a
Same thing with
realtor.
close friends.
Yeah.
Well, here's what, for people, and this is what I would tell people that know that you're new in the business. People that know you're new in the business, don't be afraid to tell them that you're new in the business and say, but I'm working with an office with 300 agents, and I've established a network of agents, so even if I can't find the answer, I know where to find the answer, and these folks are dedicated to helping me, and so even though I'm just starting in the business, believe me, I'll give you as much expertise as anyone out there.
She was determined not to use me. She knew all that.
You know, some people you just, that's, I know people that always say to me, oh, Bob, I'd like to use you, but I have an aunt in the business. I said, well, I'll tell you what, your aunt really doesn't work full-time in the business, doesn't work this area. Why don't you list with me, or I'll represent you, and we can give her a referral fee. And this way it makes everyone happy. You get the expertise, and it keeps your relationship with your family on good terms. Because you can always give someone a
Great
referral
idea.
fee.
Yeah, I like it.
And chances are, you know, that everyone knows someone in real estate, but half of them are, you know, part-time, don't go through training classes, sell one property a year. But don't be afraid to always use the office as, hey, I've got all this expertise in the office. And for most part, I mean, if you came up to me in the office and had a question, I'm probably going to take the time to answer it. And I think most of the people in here are pretty good about that. Tom, you got a question?
Got a story for everybody in the room. So I've been buying and selling houses in the Atlanta market with a franchise called Homevestors for the last 8 years. I've done a lot of deals. I can't tell you the number of signs I've seen in front of distressed properties that have a real estate agent on it. Call that sign and say, hey, my name's Tom Dowdle. I'd love to make you an offer. Please call me. You know, return phone calls I've gotten off those signs?
None.
0. So don't let anything discourage you. Don't let your family discourage you. Please keep moving forward and call people back. Take the initiative. Let them know what's going on in every step of the way. I mean, don't have them say, hey, what happened with the offer? You should, as soon as you make the offer, send them a text. Hey, made the offer. This. Just stay in contact with them. That will get you 90% of the way there.
Yeah,
So.
From my perspective, it's like as a matter of treating it like business. If there was anybody I didn't know, I would want them to sign an agreement to protect myself. You know, that's
Right,
just
if
how I
you,
feel.
yeah.
And so it's like, I think it's just something to bulk at, because what happened was I was sending her properties Friday, Saturday, sent her the agreement, said we'll sign them when we get in person. I showed her property Sunday. I showed her 4 properties Sunday. And then when it's time to sit down and go through that part, she just wanted to eat. And so I felt like it might have been an issue with it. But at the end of the day, for me, if it was somebody I wouldn't know, I would want them to protect me, because I've already spent like 24 hours working with you. And the little thing she bucked on, I guess someone had an FMLS search. So there was a listing that popped up Monday morning. And it was like, well, how is she able to see properties you can't? And I'm like, it was just listed today. Like, am I supposed to eat, sleep, and breathe?
If you have serious buyers, make sure, and I'll show you how to do it. You click the box that says they will get the listings ASAP, because you can set it up to where they're going to get all the new listings or the change in status first thing in the morning, or at a certain time in the afternoon, or ASAP. You got a serious buyer, ASAP. But you know, that sounds like no offense to your cousin, but it sounds like she's a little whacked. I mean, maybe she might not be the perfect client.
And I would also, like, up front with your buyers, say I'm going to put you on this drip from the FMLS, and you're going to receive these listings, and because you're focused on your search, you may see that at 7 p.m. and I haven't seen it yet. And then in the morning you drive by on your way to work to check out the house. I might not, I have more than one client, so that's not really possible for me to do. So if you see something that comes on the market that I haven't seen yet, please let me know. I'm not superhuman.
Well, texting is fantastic, emailing is great, but I will tell you, nothing beats a phone call to talk to people and make sure that, half the time you'll send a text and, oh man, they're pissed off at me, and then you call them up. I'm not pissed at you, why would you say that? Text doesn't always really convey things the right way, so always pick up a phone when possible. One of the things I always tell at a buyer consult, which I think is really important, Because it kind of sets the expectation and puts a little bit, I don't know, pressure is the right word, on them. I always tell them, well, the average buyer that I show looks at between 8 and 12 houses. And this way, they start getting to that point, and they they're going to expect to find a house in 8 to 12, and you're not going to have to show them, hopefully, 30 houses. And you can certainly remind them of that
I like that line.
at any given time. Yeah. Well, wow, we're at 17 houses now. One's right around the corner. But and when I'm out with folks, sometimes we're only looking at one house because we've seen everything on the market. A new listing comes up, so man, we're rushing out. So we're seeing that one house. But if we're seeing 5 or 6 houses, I always tell folks, hey, you can only have 2 favorites. So when we see houses today, there cannot be more than 2 favorites. This way, they'll drop immediately. You go see the 3rd house, they know that first one is no longer a candidate. But it helps them narrow their list down. We can only have 2 favorites, and usually it's not a problem. Usually it's difficult finding that one favorite. What else? One of the things that if you've shown some properties, and Jen, I don't know if you had this where you were, but for showing time, it allows you to book showings online. You never have to talk to anyone. You can book them online. If you have a buyer that's hot to trot and they're ready to go, I will tell you, you can use showing time to book the appointment, but make sure you talk to, or at the very least text that agent and ask them, hey, we're showing this property tomorrow, or I want to show this property tomorrow. Do you have any offers? Because if you don't ask them that, they probably are not going to tell you. And then you go out there and your folks fall in love with it, and then you call up the agent, hey, we're going to make an offer. Oh, we're under contract. So always ask them, do you have any offers? And it'll prevent a whole lot of heartache. And this way they might respond, no, we don't. Or they might respond, yeah, we just received an offer, but go and show. And this way you know that there's a sense of urgency if your folks do like it. And they'll a lot of times, agents just get a little bit lazy on changing the status from active to active under contract. And so they might be under contract. And, most likely you're not going to show a house that's under contract unless it's just perfect. Or when I just put a property under contract, I usually change the listing status within 24 hours. And the agents will call me and say, hey, I want to show this property. I'll say, hey, we just went under contract, but I'll tell you what, I'm just not feeling real strong about this agent. They seem a little flaky, or their buyer seems a little flaky. I would go ahead and show it because I have a feeling we could come active again. And this way, at least, hey, just a way to get your show, maybe get a backup offer, or tell them that we are accepting backup offers. I'm not really feeling that comfortable with it, so please go and show. So if it does fall out of contract, you do have a fallback. All right, and always, especially when you're meeting with buyers for the first time, I would say ask the agents. A lot of agents put their seller's disclosures and community association disclosures online. I would take those with you to the showing. Chances are you're printing a lot of paper that you don't need, but if questions come up, you've got the answers right there. And I've actually, on the property we're going to see today, I have I emailed the agent and asked her to forward me a seller's disclosure, and she hasn't done that yet. But it's nice to have all that information, because if they're showing some interest in the property, you've got it all at your fingertips. And I will tell you, if when you get to the point where you're listing properties, put all your disclosures online in the FMLS. It just helps you out. Just helps you out. And always have your clients, as a buyer's agent, read the seller's disclosure. Read the whole damn thing. Because you may end up buying a refrigerator for your buyer because you had told them that the refrigerator was conveying with the property, but it's clearly not checked, and it isn't. Now all of a sudden they get to the closing and they're like, where's our refrigerator? Well, you told us. Make sure you read it. You know everything about that seller's disclosure, not only to protect your buyers, but to protect yourself. And I hate to say it, but half of this business is about protecting yourself. But if you protect your buyers, you are protecting yourself.
Okay, let's watch this quick video that I found. I thought it was pretty good. And then we'll go on to FMLS.
Hey everybody, Karthik Subramaniam. I'm here showing property. I'm meeting a client here in about
No idea
15
who this guy is.
And I wanted to share with you, record a quick video before my client gets here, on tips and techniques that I use to sell property, because frankly, I remember as a brand new agent, before I sold a home to a buyer, I would make a list of all the properties that I showed them, and a lot of my buyers, I was showing literally 15, 20, 30 properties to a given buyer before they made a decision. So I kind of wrote down some of the best practices that I use to avoid having to show a property or show a buyer, 10 or 15 or 20, 30 properties before they end up making a decision. You want to show just a few properties that really meet the client's needs and make sure that you're showing property that are relevant to their client requirements. So follow me inside. I'll share with you some of my tips and techniques to make sure that you can sell more property and not have to waste not only your time, but also your buyer's time with properties that don't really fit their needs. So I wrote a little list. Follow me inside. I'll go over those with you now. So the first thing that we want to remember before we show any property is before you even get in the house. Before you even come into the house, it's super important to plan your route. Now there's always this debate between real estate agents, like, do I show the best property first and then go back to the worst property? Or do I show the worst property first and build up to the best? Or do I follow the most logical route? Now there's no right or wrong to this. I think it probably is circumstantial, but what I would recommend doing is following the most logical route, mainly so that you can be most efficient with your client's time and respect their time so that you can get to selling, which is really the goal of showing property. So the second thing that we're going to want to do before we show property is know the area. And when I say know the area, I'm not just talking about, knowing maybe where the shopping is, but really know the area. Know where the recreation facilities are, know where the parks are, know where the schools are, know what school districts the property is in. It's important to remember that for us as real estate agents, this might seem like just another transaction, but to a buyer, this is the biggest decision, or one of the biggest decisions they're going to ever make in their entire life. So it's important for us to be as educated as possible as we show property. And one thing that I always like to do on all my listings is I ask the seller, what is it about this area and about this property that really made you want to buy here? And often, like I'm doing a deal right now in downtown LA on a condo, the owner of that condo said one of the things that they really liked about the area was that it was super close to all these cool little shops and restaurants. So there's a hotel in that area called Hotel O, for example. There's a wonderful fire pit at Hotel O that seller likes to hang out at on a Friday night with his spouse. And what's really cool about that is when I do an open house there, if I see somebody come in an open house, I'll tell that potential buyer, what the current owner really loves about this house is that they love the fact that there's a wonderful little restaurant at Hotel O downstairs. There's a wonderful fire pit down there, and they love as a Friday night tradition to go down there and have a couple of cocktails and wind down their week. And they really like to use that as bonding time for them as a couple, and it's just walking distance from here. So those small little things about what drew that particular owner to that house, if you can communicate that to the next buyer, that's really going to help you sell that property. So knowing the area and all the little intricacies that come with buying a home in that area are super important, and it's going to get you one step closer to success and ultimately a sale. Now the third thing, this might seem obvious, but make sure that your key or your super is updated either on your phone or if you use an external super device. The last thing you want is to show up to the hotbox and not be able to get in. If it's on a combo, which very few properties are, make sure that you have the combo and that you confirm access with the listing agent. Also, if the MLS says, call for an appointment, it's important to be respectful of that because it's possible there could be two big Dobermans or a big German Shepherd inside and, you walk up and don't have an appointment, you get mauled by a dog, then what are you going to do, right? So very important to make sure that you verified access and that your lockbox key and your Supra are charged up and ready to go. Now the fourth thing that I wrote down is keep their focus. So for this particular buyer that I'm meeting here, their focus really was on wanting a big master bedroom bathroom. That was one of the key things that this buyer told me they wanted. So as you can see, we have a huge master bedroom bathroom. with a very large walk-in closet. And those are things that the buyer said that they wanted. Now, of course, for me, as I'm showing this property here in about 10 or 15 minutes to the buyer, I'm going to make sure that that buyer spends a lot of time in this room, spends a lot of time in the closet, spends a lot of time in this bathroom, and in the master bedroom in general, because I know that's one thing that they're really looking for in a home. So keeping your buyers focused on ultimately why you're at that property in particular is going to get you one step closer to a sale. Keep that buyer focused on why they're at that property. And the last thing that we're going to want to remember as we show property is ultimately give your client space. Give your buyer time to explore the property on their own. Nobody likes having someone breathe over their shoulder, so give your client space to explore the property and have them discover all the little things that they're going to want in that home. For example, if your client wants a garden and there's a big backyard where they can plant a garden, let the client kind of explore and find that garden on their own. It's much better to have them see what they want in a home rather than have you constantly pointing it out. So give your client some space so they can discover all the things that make that house ultimately a home for that buyer. So I hope these tips have helped you as you're a new real estate agent or even a veteran agent, just kind of reconnecting with our business. I hope that I can share some of my experiences and help you ultimately sell more real estate. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're welcome to follow me on Instagram. I'd love to connect with you, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
I really like that last one. Give your client space. I mean, this is the bathroom. Oh, I'm kidding. I know it's the bathroom. Nobody should tell me that. All right, let me see if I can get an FMLS up. Where did Stacy put that?
It's up at the top in the bar.
The top in the bar.
Keep going up there, to the right.
The green.
The green thing.
Green.
Just below the
No,
search bar.
yeah. No, I thought we had one open already,
Oh.
and I don't see where it is. We'll just open another one. Yeah. Yes, the green thing. Ah, that was it. All right, so everyone knows how to get. You can log on to FM. Michelle, you can log on to FMLS, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Matrix. All right, so we're going to say that we have already we've had our consultation with our buyer, and they want to live in Dunwoody. They want to be what's important to them. They got friends in Dunwoody, their churches in Dunwoody. He works downtown, easy enough to get downtown. So they've decided because of the schools that Dunwoody is where they want to live. And they heard that Vanderlyn Elementary is a really good school. So they like to be in Vanderlyn, and they can go up to $625 on price. They've been pre-qualified. We know all of that. All right, so they want to be in Vanderlyn. They want to go up to $625. So let's set up a search. Easy enough. We're on everyone knows how to get to Matrix, right?
Yes.
So here's, you go to Matrix, search residential. And this is what will pop up. You get all these great deals here. They don't want a townhome, so this is your default. This is always going to be checked here. Perfect. The easiest way to do that is come down to elementary schools and type in Vanderlyn. And here at price, they want to go to $625. So I'll go ahead and probably look starting at $550, maybe even $500, and let's go up to $650. Because just because a property is $650 doesn't mean that it won't sell eventually for $625. I might even go a hair higher, but basically those are the only two categories I need: Vanderlyn and the price. Well, if they need 4 bedrooms, then probably they do. Let's put in 4 bedrooms, put 4+. Because if you just put in 4 bedrooms, that's all you're going to get. You're not going to get anything with 5 bedrooms. So 4+.
Bob, do you want to eliminate everything under 550, or do you think?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, maybe when I'm doing the initial search, maybe I'll go a little bit lower just for myself. But I'm guessing if they've been looking online, and chances are they've already been looking online on Zillow and all these other places, that they know what the prices are. And
I always do like a 650 minus, and then
you can do that too.
Go from there. That's just the way I do them.
You can do that, but if I have a really good idea that they want to go up to 625 and they see a house for 500, they're not gonna like it.
I have a question about searching by the school. In our MLS, which is, we use the same system, a lot of times agents would not put the schools in. So if you search by school,
I
you
don't.
miss it.
I think you have to put the school in
Okay,
on our MLS. I think if you leave it blank, it won't allow you to list it.
okay.
I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah, Bridge doesn't let you bypass it.
Excuse me.
Bridge doesn't let you bypass it. You have to put it in.
Okay. Now, so just using those two, we have got, go down to the bottom, just 2 matches. Okay, so we only have 2 properties, and we probably need to see more than just 2. Now, what sometimes, you gotta double check, make sure that you don't have any other, this is your default, it's gonna say active and it's gonna say pending. I like to leave it at that. Also add this active under contract. That's a new category which I really like. But basically active under contract and pending means it's under contract. The active under contract means that they are still in that due diligence period where the buyer can back out. The pending usually means that they are beyond that due diligence period. And the only thing typically that should stop this property from selling is financing went haywire. But, so let's see if that added anything. Nope, didn't add anything.
What about coming soon?
That's a good one. That's a new category. And I just haven't really gotten into that category, but yeah, doesn't hurt, didn't change anything. But why not? All right, so and Tom, yes?
I'm sorry, forgive me. I missed last week for jury duty, so I'm behind. Can you show me how you got to this?
That page?
Please.
Okay. You know how to log on to FMLS?
I'm there.
All right, so, and I closed the whole thing out. Let's try this again. So just FMLS.com, there you are, right? And then you go under products,
Okay.
matrix,
Gotcha, thank you.
and that will give you your home page right
Okay.
there. And so we want to go from the home page, one over the search page, and we are searching residential.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to put in, where was I, 550 to 650. 4 bedrooms plus, and then family. Now, if we've only got 2 properties, that's probably not enough. And Tom, to your point, maybe I do go the 650 and minus at that point. You can just put in 650 and minus. Now, how many properties come up?
13.
16.
Well, I didn't have pending.
Okay. So, well, we'll add these 2 as well. So now you got 16 properties up there. Okay. Let's take a look at what we got. And you come back to the top. We're in the criteria field. You can look at all of these properties by map, which is nice. There they are. The green properties are active. The orange properties are under contract. So you can see where all these properties are. And I do, when I'm searching for someone, I do call up the map search before I ever include it on their search, because the map will tell you, for example, I know this is, just because I know Dunwoody, this is a power line right here. That's where the trees are all cut.
Oh.
And chances are, you do not want a house on a power line. I mean, most clients don't. I will tell you the 3 main strikes on a property. Strike 1, the house is on a main street. Strike 2, the house is on a power line. Strike 3, it has completely unusable backyard or a steep slope in the front yard. I mean, those are just,
Where's the power line?
see that line?
Oh,
See where it's
okay,
cut,
okay.
the
Yes.
woods are cut, all the
Yes.
trees are cut, that's a power line.
Got it, thank you.
We'll get back to that in a minute. So here are 16 properties going from high to low, and now you can always, if you want to, you can change this by hitting price, and now it'll go from low to high. So you always have the option of changing that. I always like to start out, I don't know why, it's the default, but the high to low seems like a good starting point. Actually, the first thing I like to do is make sure the status, I've got all the actives first, and then the pendings, the one under contract, fall below that. So it's in descending order, and then there are all the pendings.
What's going on Mount Vernon? Everybody
Mount
selling.
Vernon Way, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, these are not, Mount Vernon Way is a little bit more heavily trafficked road. Not a whole lot, but when we go out there, you'll notice that there are speed bumps on that road. Anytime you see speed bumps on a road, that's to alert your clients, well, they get a little bit more traffic here, to the point where they felt it was necessary to add speed bumps. So, you know, if they got young kids, that might be a no-go right there. So let's take a look at some of these properties. All right, if brand new listings, I can tell you this is a fairly new listing right here, just because the listing number is 666, and that's the most recent number. Usually, if you look at if you know the most recent numbers that are out, and you look at other listing numbers, like this is 662, in Atlanta generally, take that 666, subtract that 662, and I can tell you it's been on the market approximately 4 months, give or take. Usually, that's a really, well, let's see. This is 662. How long have we been on the property, on the market? 117 days, so about 4 months. So that's an easy way to know how long a property has been on the market. So, and I can just look sometimes when clients just tell me, hey, well, what's up with this property? I go, well, it's been up on the market 4 months, so I can tell you without a doubt it's either price too high or the condition's not right. Two things sell houses, price and condition. Price too high or the condition's not right.
Condition's amazing, it looks like.
Okay, so there's the first house we're going to see. It listed for $575. And this is actually the property that we're going to go see today. First thing I'll do, click on the address. Is it on a power line? Is it on a main road? And it's not. Now, I did tell you, this road does have, I'm pretty sure this road has speed bumps, but you're not going to be able to see that from a...
How did you get to the satellite view?
Well, you click on this, and you have three, you see where it says satellite up top here? The default usually is map, so there's the map.
Satellite.
But I like to keep it on satellite because I can see if there's something funny going on. See, like these properties over here, that's a power line. These properties are on the power line. You know, some people, maybe it doesn't bother them. I always tell buyers, well, the power line may not bother you, but just understand when you go to sell the property, it's going to bother probably 5 out of every 10 people, maybe 6 out of every 10 people. So understand that while it won't bother you, it will affect you on the back end when you go to sell the property. I always tell folks too, I want to make sure that we buy a property that I say to myself, wow, when it comes time for you to sell it, I'm going to be excited to sell this property because I know there's no negatives about it. So always click on the map. Make sure. All right. You know, if I usually don't click on the tax records until we get serious about a property, because you could spend a whole lot of time looking at taxes and history and some of this other stuff. The flood map, I do want to know. And this is in. This is not in a flood zone. Actually, let's see. See this right here. Flood code description, zone X. An area that is determined to be outside the 100 to 500 year floodplain. I will tell you that I usually, instead of clicking on the flood map, I usually do click on the tax records because it's easier to read. When you click on the tax records, come on, where are your tax records? Let's see. There we go. It's easier to see the flood zone right here, X. X is good. X means it does not require flood insurance. If you see a house that's too good to be true, one of the things that I always look for is it's in a flood zone. And the problem with the flood zone is, chances are most of these houses that are in flood zones, it's never gonna flood. But flood insurance is expensive. For a house like this, I would guess homeowner's insurance is gonna be about $1,500 a year. If you had to put flood insurance on this house, that would bump you up to about $4,500 a year. It's ridiculous. Always check whether the house is in a flood zone or not. This way, they really want to see a house, and I will call them up and say, hey, just FYI, I know you want to see this house, but understand that it is in a flood zone, and it'll probably cost you about $3,000 a year to insure that house, which will be required by your lender. Ooh, no, we don't want to see that house. Good, now you've eliminated the property that you don't need to be seeing anyway. See, this X tells me it's not in a flood zone. See where it says flood zone code? If it was in a flood zone, let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I can find it. It would say A or AB. Just look for the X. X is good.
X is good.
X is good. Another resource is just Google Georgia flood maps. And it takes you to this site called Georgia DFIRM. It's the first thing that's going to come up. And you can click on, plug in any address, and it will tell you, it'll give you, here, what is this property? 5481 Mount Vernon Way. 5481 Mount Vernon Way, Dunwoody. And let's see what the search comes up with. There's the property, and there's my X, flood zone X. But I always do this before we make an offer. I want to make sure that it's not in a flood zone. You can get this whole thing to open up here too, like that. Here's the flood zone risk snapshot. Hopefully this doesn't look like it's going to come up. Yeah, never mind. But Georgia flood zones. All right.
So I'm assuming here, like along the Chattahoochee,
Not necessarily.
depends on the
Not necessarily.
elevation.
Like Dunwoody here, there's a neighborhood called Village Mill that you'd never know is in a flood zone. It's never going to flood. But there's like an area of about 10 houses that are in a flood zone. So, there's no rhyme or reason. You can't necessarily, most of the times you can tell houses at the top of the hill, it's not going to be a flood zone. But I would always check. Just check, because you just never know. All right. Most important thing is photos. So the folks have told us they got young kids. They want to be in Vanderlyn School District. They want to have they need at least 4 bedrooms, and they want a usable backyard because their kids, they want their kids to play in the backyard. So I always like to, you can look at these photos one at a time by just clicking here. I like when I'm looking at properties, I just click that photo tab, and this way I can look at all of them at once. Especially when you're looking at multiple properties, it just expedites the process. So, in an older home, to have a vaulted ceiling, that's pretty rare. So that's pretty cool to have this vaulted ceiling. Kitchen looks fairly updated. You got stainless steel appliances. You got granite. You can tell over here. Newer cabinets. Just having been in the business for 13 years, I can look at those cabinets and tell that they weren't the original. They were replaced. You got nice paint coloring schemes. Pretty nice entryway. A lot of hardwood floors, which you'd rather see. Most people would rather see hardwoods and carpet, although in the bedrooms you might see carpet. But on the main level, it's nice to have those hardwoods. It will add value to the home. So they said they wanted a usable backyard. All right. Doesn't look like we have many backyard photos here. Here's the end of the house. Let's see does it look like a usable backyard?
No.
Kinda.
it's
you know,
not.
right here, you can tell that this is on the basement level, so the back of the house is a level down. It looks pretty flat, looks like it might even be fenced in. Maybe it's usable, maybe not.
Depends on the age of the children, too.
Right, yeah. Well, we'll say they're 7 and 10. They want to put a swing set back there, okay? Maybe. So I would not, from the only 2 photos that they show, really doesn't give me enough to go by. I mean, this is something where when we get in the car or on the phone, I'll say, yeah, we're going to look at this house. The one thing I said, I like the house. It has a lot of great features and everything. I think it has the space you're looking for. It has the 4 bedrooms, has a basement, which you want. You wanted a usable backyard. It's hard for me to tell, so just keep in mind when we get out there, it may not work. Anyway, otherwise the house looks pretty nice. So that house is listed for $575. Now here's where you can, you want to schedule a showing, you can do it online, remotely. Just click on schedule a showing.
So you can also click on the satellite view
Yeah.
and veer down. It looks like it's got a heck of a lot more backyard there. There's a bunch of trees, so I mean, just from the top.
Well, yeah. Well, let's
So if you need to have that backyard information and it's not showing it in the pictures.
when you click on the
then drill
satellite
down on
view,
it.
it'll give you a pretty good idea of, you know, these.
I mean, it's got a pretty good little depth there, but
Yeah.
you know, what does that tree look like? You don't know. I mean,
No idea.
could be super duper woods and
Now, the one thing you see these lines here, and you're going to make the assumption, well, that's the property lines. It might not be. The tax records are fairly accurate on property lines, and these maps, these Google Maps, I think, are actually, some of them are pulled from they somehow incorporate the tax records. But I always tell every buyer, and I write this into my buyer's brokerage agreement, get a survey done. $500. You'll know exactly where your property lines are. This way you'll know if there's an easement on the property. You'll know if there's anything funny going on that property. Without that, without getting a survey done, you don't know if there's an easement. You don't know if maybe the easement is there was a sewer line built years ago right underneath the middle of the house. You just don't know this stuff. That actually happened to an agent in Atlanta, and the middle of the house just crumbled. And I think, I don't know if the agent got sued by the buyers because they didn't recommend that they get a survey.
wow.
Get a survey done.
So you write it in your blank spaces on your agreement?
I write that in my, yes. And, you know, I will,
So you always suggest get a survey to every house?
now I will tell them, I'll say to them, they're interested in making an offer, or we go under contract, and I will put this in the brokerage agreement for them, and we have the pen here. Just, if you're interested in what I put in my brokerage agreement, send me an email, and I will be happy to. This is dry erase, okay. And I'll be happy to send you what I put in my brokerage agreement. You can just copy it and put it in your own. KW.com. And most everything I put in there is to protect my buyers and to protect myself, because you just never know. Now, I will say, I always tell my folks, if it's property and that, you know, you just know you have a pretty good idea there's not going to be anything crazy showing up on this property. I would say, you know, as a realtor, I tell you, you should get a survey. Get the survey. I highly recommend you getting a survey. As Bob Pacello, the person, if you're asking me, if I'm buying this property, if I'm going to spend $500 on a survey, maybe not. Maybe not. There's no fences there. There's nothing crazy going on. I might not. That's me personally. As a professional, get the survey.
So you always put on the brokerage agreement?
The buyer's brokerage agreement under special stipulations on page 6 or 7. I have a whole paragraph that I write in there.
Then do you put it again on the contract? or no?
No, it's on the brokerage agreement, they're signing the brokerage agreement. I just need my folks aware, but I don't need the other folks aware of these two. Let me see, is this my, I don't know if I can get into my, I'll print that out before we go. So anyway, okay, so.
Do you do it on the listing agreement as well, or just on the buyer's side of it?
Buyers, I have some stipulations, not nearly as many that I put on a listing agreement. For example, clients are advised to be truthful in filling out all disclosure statements, because sometimes people want to hedge on things. And I say, you know, if you're not honest with it on the front end and you get caught on it, you could potentially be opening yourself up for a lawsuit. So be as honest as you can. And, you know, sometimes you just don't know, but just, it's okay to say, I don't know. But, yeah, all right. We're going to get behind ourselves here in a minute, so I apologize. So anyway, here's, okay, so this is the property. Okay, that's a keeper. We're going to see that one, so we'll just check that. We're going to check that. Let's take a look at this next property. Right away, we know that this property, like this one, has been listed for 4 months. What's wrong with it? So we'll click on the properties.
For the conditions.
Thank you. Rochelle, you're paying attention.
Yes.
This is another property I can tell you right here. This is our code, so it's listed by an agent in our office. I've actually looked at this house. It's listed by Michael Culver. Not a bad house. I don't think it's the condition. It's probably more to do with price. So let's go this way on the photos. So, you know, here's another house. It's got 4 bedrooms, got a lot of hardwood floors, got some updates in the kitchen. One of the things I can tell you, these are probably the original cabinets. And the reason I know that is, first of all, no one makes cabinets with this design anymore. And number 2, these are all 8-foot ceilings because there's homes that are 40 years old or so. If you go in any newer constructions, these cabinets are going to go all the way to the ceilings. If they have renovated this kitchen, they're going to put in cabinets that go all the way to the ceiling. And this doesn't. And the same thing over here. But anyway, it looks like another property. Got everything we're looking for. Again, is this backyard usable? It kind of looks usable. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll check that and put that property on our list. Now we got 2 to go see. Hey, another one on Mount Vernon Way. Like I said, what the hell's going on? We know it's been listed about 2 months. And $549 is the asking price. For whatever reason, they raised the price.
That is so weird when I see that. Like,
yeah, it's nonsensical unless they put it in wrong. I'm guessing, my guess is that when we look at the history here, why would they raise the price? That it happened immediately because they stuck the wrong price in there. Let's see. $549. Nope, they changed the price. Well, $549. Then they went down to $529, and then they went back up to $549. Maybe they did some sort of improvements. Who knows? Is this a property we want to look at? I'm guessing, and it might not show it from those pictures. I'm guessing this property has a pretty darn good slope in the front yard, going, you know, up from the street. And I don't know if you can kind of see that.
I want to know what made them go up, because that kitchen is a situation.
Do you think I need to highlight those?
We're not cooking in the kitchen.
His daughter.
We'll do it.
Okay.
Connie has sent me a seller's we don't need proof. I'm going to print. I'll just print one out. We'll be fine. No need to print 9,000 pages. Okay, so this slope, this concerns me. Just looking at this picture, having done this for 12 years, and I don't know if you guys get a feel, that looks like there's going to be a significant slope on that lot. And I will tell you, maybe it's because I'm looking at the photos, maybe it's because I've been in the business, or maybe it's because I've driven past that house and know that there's a big slope there. But that might not be something that my buyers like. Looks like all the other pictures.
Really dated.
really
You
dated.
don't like that colored carpet?
Purple, orange, yeah.
Colonel Mustard, wallpaper.
It's horrible.
Look at that.
So Bob, the biggest problem with the slope down, I mean, the water's running away from the house. What's the biggest
That's fine.
issue?
Well,
Steep driveway.
steep driveway.
Especially when it's
Gonna be like that.
icy.
Well, you know, we don't have too much ice, but you know, just the steep driveway. People just don't like steep driveways.
Not me.
You know, basement is unfinished, but hey, your chance. That wasn't important to my folks. We can always finish it. Other than that, maybe it's worth taking a look at. So I would go ahead and check that. and go on to the next one. Let's just pick one more to check. Okay, this one's on Forest Springs Court.
I think this was under contract, wasn't it, the next one down?
Now, this is active. Where are we? Right there. 520, so a little bit less. Our folks are going to go up to 625. So, oh, look at this. It has 6 bedrooms. And it's about a month on the
Honey,
market.
stop the car.
Honey, stop the car.
Don't put that in the listings.
That's cute.
It's stupid. Don't do
Eye
that.
catcher.
It's so juvenile. It doesn't make you look like a professional when you write in there, honey, stop the car. Another thing, they always, if square footage is an issue with your folks, you know, most of the listings are gonna have the square footage, and they're gonna say public records. Sometimes it says appraiser, sometimes it says owner. Don't always trust them. When it says appraiser, they're always gonna, they might even include the basement. This, when you go public records, they're not, even if the basement is finished, public records is not going to include that square footage. So it's tough to make an apples to apples comparison with other properties by looking at the square footage, because a lot of times it's just not right. So don't put a whole lot of emphasis on that. So let's take a look at this property. Is it on a power? Ooh, it's close to the power line, but let's take a little closer look. You know, it's not right on the power line. Chances are that with all those trees and everything, you might not even see that power line. Now, it's still there, but I will tell you the fact that it's out of sight, kind of out of mind, and people don't worry as much about it.
All those EMFs.
If there was not a single tree there, people might worry about it. But since you don't see it, it's probably, and plus it's probably far enough away. Now, and concerning power lines, I will tell you it's harder to sell a house with a power line, but there are no conclusive studies that say living next to a power line is a danger to you. As a matter of fact, the power company will tell you that having a microwave oven in your kitchen is much more dangerous than a power line 100 feet away. So, you know, this house again looks like, okay, let's see what the updates are like. Sorry, let's do it this way so we can see all the photos at once. Ooh. 520 looks like it has some renovations. Looks kind of nice, nicer perhaps than some of the houses we've seen.
Basement.
Got a pool.
Uh-oh.
And that's one thing, you know, you'll discuss with your folks in the buyer consult, or even, you know, hey, we check this property, because they'll have the, once you put them on a search, they'll have the ability to save properties as favorites and check it. And if they check this property, do you guys want a pool? It appears that you said you wanted a usable backyard. Well, it appears that the entire backyard is a pool. Probably not going to work out, but you know, that's why you look at all the pictures. That's why I like to look at it. And it looks like maybe you got some usable backyard here. So I would ask them. When people ask me what are the advantages and disadvantages of having a pool, I will say the advantages: you have a pool. You got a pool in your yard. You can go swim anytime you want. Privacy, skinny dip, who cares? The negatives on a pool are having a swimming pool, ironically, is going to shrink your pool of buyers. Less people are going to be interested in this house, because I got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. I don't want a pool. I would say 3 out of 10 people will dismiss your property immediately because they don't want a pool. And the other thing about a pool is you need to budget, about $3,000 a year, give or take, for the maintenance of that pool. And at some point in time, that liner is going to have to be replaced. Maybe the pool
Pumps and everything else.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. So there could be a lot more expense to it. So understand that. I always tell folks, if you want a pool, fantastic, but there's a whole bunch of swim tennises right here, so it'd be a lot cheaper, more economical, and more social to go join the swim tennis than to have your own pool. So
And a lot of leaves around that pool too.
yeah, it looks like it too. So now we don't want to see that property, so we'll eliminate that. All right, so we're good just seeing we're just good just seeing these 3 properties. I always budget out with folks, budget about a half hour showing properties and the time in between. About a half hour, if provided they're all in a similar sort of area. If you've got to drive 20 minutes to another property, add that 20 minutes on. But usually a good give or take about 30 minutes per property. Seems to work pretty well with most buyers. Now, I've had buyers that want to just stay in properties forever and look at every little thing. And if I know that they really, this isn't going to be the right property for them, I'm like, we have an appointment to go show another property at 11:30, so why don't we speed it up a little bit and move on. So anyway, okay, so we got these 3 properties we're going to go look at, and we're actually going to, not only going to look at them, we're going to put them on a search. I think someone said they didn't know how to do a search. So, come down here, and you're going to hit, we got the 3 properties checked that we want to show. Actually, to do a search that we just did, we would actually, just to do the search, we would check all the properties. So everything in that criteria will come up. So check all the properties. You want to put them in an automated drip search, hit save. Now it's going to say new auto email. We'll click that. You'll type in your, hey look, it's me. Type in your contact's name, subject, I always put properties of potential interest. Here's the email that goes out. Hi Bob, blah blah blah. You can edit all of this. You can, you don't want to say hi. You can. They have some hello, dear Bob, whatever you want to put in. You can do enter a custom one too. The hi Bob usually works for me. If it's a husband and wife, you can edit that, put both their names in there, both their emails and email addresses. But when you come down here, if you've got someone that's hot to trot and all that, they're ready to go, just make sure. See, the default is you'll get these listings. New property comes on at 7 o'clock at night. If I have that all AM checked, they're going to get the property the next morning. First thing in the morning, it comes over at 6 or 7. You've got someone that's ready to go, put them on the ASAP search. Now, if they're kind of casually looking and their criteria is pretty big, the reason you don't want them on the ASAP search because they might be getting 12 emails a day showing them new properties, and that's just a little bit much. So make sure if they're ready to go, put them on the ASAP. Otherwise, maybe this daily thing works, either AM or PM. You can even do both, and we'll send it out 2 different times. But the ASAP is very important. And then just hit save, and you're ready to go. You're ready to roll. I don't want to take too much time on that because we're going to get off track. So we're running short of time. Why don't we take a quick 5-minute break? I'm going to print out a seller's disclosure, and then we'll get ready to leave about 12:45.
Can I ask you a question? If
No.
I wanted to,
What?
if I wanted to make a change to this, because I put my daughter on AM,
Yeah.
but I want to do it as soon as possible. So how do I change
Go to
that?
My Matrix.
Okay, I'm in it. Then
Auto search.
Yeah.
There.
Uh-huh.
That's her search.
Yes.
Which one's
I'll
hers?
just tell
Which
you.
I
one?
got 2. All right.
Yeah, these are
Just,
some other people.
just open the
Just
search
have
you
the
want
trust.
to.
What's the owner's name?
All right. Now hit criteria.
Oh, okay.
And, no. Actually, go back. Hit settings.
Okay.
There you go. Now go down and you can. There you go. And then hit save.
Great, thank you.
That should do it.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm signing up for all these FMLS classes. Did you go to your class?
Saturday morning, 9 a.m.
Yeah, which one did you go to? Did you go to Roswell?
No, ma'am, it's around the corner at the FMLS Dunwoody.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll be back over here Saturday morning. Cup of coffee, 2 sugars, 2 creams. Yeah, I'll be right over here.
Mine, I'll take my coffee black.
Okay. Let's have a cup of coffee soon.
It's spirulina, root grass, collagen, powder for my brain. There's maca, which is good for the thyroid.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks good in green.
Yes, the spirulina that makes the algae that makes it really great.
Are they antioxidants?
Okay, subject lines.
I see a bunch of folks have already emailed me. I'll get those tips out to you a little bit later on.
I
this
emailed you a little
afternoon.
while ago. But I think I just asked for the broker agreement. Can you send me your listing and, you know, all the ones you were talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
Or-
That's what
okay.
I'm saying.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm gonna send you the steps that I put in the listing, the brokerage, the buyer's brokerage agreement. Trying to find, okay. I'm gonna print out a seller's disclosure for this property.
It is a little chilly.
So you signed up
Let's see.
online? Did you sign up online through FMLS?
Yes, ma'am. Go to, let's see, where is it?
Because I think I'm gonna go to Sandy's. Is Sandy Springs FMLS still open? I thought they closed, didn't they?
No, I think so. I'm pretty
Are
sure.
they?
No, they just moved offices.
Training.
They're still.
Oh,
running.
okay, okay.
All right, let's see. Training. I signed up for my FMLS. Look in there, Rochelle. My courses.
Training.
Matrix Basics, searching and sharing property information. Maine Sandy Springs Center with Lynn McCray.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this.
I'll be there.
Well, I'm not going on Saturday. I'm going the 13th and the 18th. I'm taking the CMAs and stats and the advanced market analysis tools.
What is that?
The 13th and 18th from 9:30 to 12:45.
13th and the 18th.
13th is the Matrix Advanced Market Analysis Tools and Customization Features.
You signed up for that at FMLS? Let's see what we got here.
I think I'm gonna go back and like read all the printouts. Do you have the one where?
Find the class.
What I wanted to take was all the reporting, which I think it's the stats to
So we
determine
all
the
just,
market
are
value.
we
I think
driving over
that's
there
where
and
that'll
coming back,
come
or
in.
just driving?
We are driving over there and then we're gonna be
using
done,
CMAs
so
and
I am not
statistics.
coming back to the, I
Uh-huh.
can take someone over there, but I will not be coming back to the office. If we wanna figure out maybe some carpools to, might help you. We're only gonna, it's about a mile and a half.
Yeah.
I thought there was gonna be a chauffeur situation going on. No, okay.
Well, I'll call you one. I'll call you an Uber. You may have to pay for it, but that's on you.
I'll be there. Determining value.
But there were a lot of parking there.
Yeah, I can put them all in here, so I have this. Tools and customization features. Alright, so there's a different one on February the 6th. Matrix CMAs using CMAs and statistics to determine value.
Has everyone taken the, or has anyone taken the FMLS courses, the CE courses?
I'll get you a number two.
Well, I will tell you, most of those courses are pretty good.
Most, which ones should we avoid?
Right.
Well, if you're not really,
There was one, and then 1 mile radius was there.
the
Sorry, guy.
Matrix 101 and Matrix 102, if you're not really at the FMLS, you go to Sandy's. Yeah,
What's the address on that property, though?
it's good. And they're 3 hours CE, and they're free. And they have a few courses, and they give you a description when you go on the. Does everyone know where to find those?
On
Yes.
the main page.
Yeah, here's the main
You want
FMLS
actors
page.
in that?
When you log in, go to training, and you can find a class. And FMLS has a few locations, but that's the Kennesaw location. Make sure if you want to be around here, they have to be Sandy Springs location. Matrix using CMAs, Matrix Basics. That's the very basic one. Good class. We just did this Remind class in our office. I didn't do it.
Which
Yeah.
class?
So I'll close the.
Both of these classes, if you still don't know basic searches, I would take both of these two classes here. Yeah, well,
One that sold for 3 to
yeah,
30.
Matrix Basic Searching and Sharing Property Information, both of those are good.
It's killer.
Which other ones?
It's really spectacular.
I took this class. I
I'm in a
wasn't really
class right
thrilled
now.
with it.
We're kind of
Which
taking a
one?
little bit-
Oh, going mobile?
Going mobile.
So there's
Okay.
The
one that's
FMLS
sold on
mobile
Glendale
is still
Drive.
not very, for all the good things that FMLS does,
$330,000.
their mobile on the phone is really not that good.
What about on the 13th, the Matrix Advanced
That's
Market
a
Analysis Tools?
4-3.
I haven't taken that one. It's probably pretty good.
And the one on the 18th, using CMAs and stats to determine market value?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
You know, all of these are, it's free. They're 3 hours and they're free. You gotta do 36 hours every 4 years to keep your license. These are free. Take free classes. Free classes are good.
I'm on board.
Okay, we can take a look at them. Cool.
And, and it tells you how many seats and you
Yeah,
actually,
I'll have your package this
you
evening.
go on there and you sign up.
Did you sign up
It'll
for
give
those
you,
two on the 13th?
Okay.
it'll give you the whole,
Because they're in Kennesaw, and I don't know what the
Oh,
Kennesaw.
no, I went to
Yours is full.
Roswell. No.
yeah, make sure you're signing up at the right office. The
No.
one on it's in Sandy Springs on Roswell Road.
No, not the one on Sandy Springs, on the 13th.
That's on Roswell Road in Sandy Springs,
Only
correct?
6 left.
That's it.
All right, let's, we're gonna
And on the 18th.
I'm gonna wrap it up from here, but I just want a couple of things. All right, so these are the 3 properties we've decided we're gonna show our folks. So one of the first things I'll do is come over here to map, see where these properties are. Where are you looking? Okay. Let me do this. I will. We don't need the rest of these properties now, so I'll hit refine here and then hit narrow, and it just narrows it down to those 3 properties, right? And now I'll hit the map. There's where they are. So doesn't matter which one I show first, second, or third. Sometimes if I have a property like over here and another one's way over there, you know, I'll always do the most direct route. I don't show best properties first, the worst properties last, or anything like that. Whatever makes the most logical sense. So we got those 3 properties, and I gotta remember here, you can actually,
Were they the top 3 that you chose?
yeah.
Just remind, thank you, okay.
Yeah. There is a way here, let me see, directions.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is especially people that are not familiar with the area. I will actually, you can email this right to them, and so they can see, you can change these properties, which ones you want to show, in which order you can move it. I can't remember exactly how to do it. You can move these up, move these down, there you go. But
Well, that's pretty hefty.
it gives you all the directions. You can even get the, you know, add a start place, add a stopping point, and you can just email these directly. Boom. And boom, they got the email. I like to do this if we're looking at more than 2 or 3 properties. I like to send them the directions and the order which we're going, so they know exactly what we're going to see. And sometimes I might even plug in as well, hey, here's the times that we're going to see these properties. We're going to see this one at 10, this one at 10:30, this one at 11, because it kind of helps them keep them on track too. If they're lingering too long in the property, oh, we got to go.
You
Yeah,
just
we
put
do.
that in the body of your email?
In the email, or you can fit it in here too. Just to, you know, it just helps them. It's just a good way to keep them on track. So that you just go, just click on that directions, and you're able to do that.
Bob, do you still take clients in your car, or do you mostly just?
Good question. Mostly not. If they're from out of town, they're always going to go in my car. And this way I can point out stuff too. Hey, that's the Big Chicken over there in Marietta. That's a landmark, you know, just Kentucky Fried Chicken, so I point out. But if they're people that know the area, especially if they have children, they might have child seats, and they probably want to be in their car. And this way it allows me to, if I need to be on the phone or talk to, you know, an agent or whatever, I can be in my car driving to the next property, and they're driving separately in theirs.
Okay.
Just seems to work out better that way.
Plus, you get a lot higher liability insurance.
Really?
Well, you're supposed to tell your insurance company that hey, I've changed businesses, I'm now a real estate agent. Just leave it at that and let them decide if they're gonna
Yeah, they
need
know.
to raise your rate or whatever, but you should be telling your
You have to
company.
provide a liability thing to the company.
Do we? I've done it, it's been so long I don't remember.
What do you have to do?
Prove that they're like listed as additional insurance.
Bob, show me how you got that map, please.
Yeah, let me see. So So we're right here.
Yep.
Just click on directions.
Oh, okay.
And you can also do this, it doesn't have to be, you can do it at map if that works better. It doesn't always have to be satellite. So you can do this, send it to them. This is actually the way I usually do it. Send it to them this way because I think it's easier to look at.
Reciprocal. Okay.
What else do we got before we kind of get out of here? This class could actually easily be 10 hours long. Let me see, what else do we got? I like the quick CMA. If I click on this, even for buyers, this is great for sellers when you're going on a listing appointment, but for buyers, it generates this quick CMA. So now we're looking at the 3 properties, and it gives you the year build, the bedrooms, bath, the original price, the list price, so you can see which ones have come down. The one thing that it doesn't do that I wish it did is the actual list date, so you can see how long it's been on the market. But by looking at those numbers, And one thing we're going to add, let's do this. Let's change our criteria a bit and add some closed properties, as well as let's see what happens here. I want to show you how that works. Let's click all these properties. When you have more properties, click on the quick CMA. So these are all the actives. Then it has the closed properties here, and it gives you a lot more information. And this might be helpful to your buyers too. Oh yeah, that house was originally listed at $475. Then it went down to $465 is when they got the contract, and it ended up selling for $445. So out of these 10 properties that have sold in a similar area, etc., here's the average closing cost. They're giving about $5,600. Here's the average sales price to list price. So, some people that are a little bit anal like all that stuff. And of course, I never go by the averages. The median values mean a lot more than the average value, because 1 or 2 really high-priced properties or really low-priced properties can skew the whole thing. But that's the quick CMA. People like to look at this. I call it the line item report. Just easy to see, and they can, oh well, let's see maybe we're paying too much for that property. Let's see something that went under contract. Gives them a pretty good idea. Just another tool to use, but that's just clicking on that quick CMA right there. Anything else we need to do? Any other questions? You can actually, when you search, you've got all these extra fields you can use. Sometimes you don't want to narrow a search down too much, but you do have a whole bunch of fields that'll, if you're getting too many properties, to help you narrow it down. And there are actually, you can add these properties too. These are not all, I want, an elevator's important. Okay, add that. You can go, there's a whole bunch of things you can add. And that's where this is really where that 3-hour FMLS matrix class is really good, because they'll break that down and go in all these other categories that you can have. All right. Okay. I think that'll do it for this.